Hi, Lisa, and welcome to your first of three mentoring sessions. To start, I would like to acknowledge our country. We express our gratitude to the Kaurna peoples for their continuous care of this ancient country, for thousands of generations, and for the sharing of this land that was never ceded. We recognise and respect the wisdom of Kaurna elders past, present, and those to come, and extend this to all First Nations people and their living cultures. We walk softly alongside First Nations people as allies committed to seeking guidance, listening with purpose, and acting with courage in our future together. Always was, always will be. Now, Lisa, have you heard about our sanctuary model?
No, what's the sanctuary model?
So the sanctuary model is helping Anglicare SA to create a trauma-informed, safer and more caring environment for our customers and our employees. So Sanctuary uses evidence-based theories and tools to help us to identify, minimise and respond to the impacts of psychological, emotional, cultural and social trauma and the adversity on a daily basis. It recognises that trauma not only impacts many of our customers, but also impacts our employees and our organisation as a whole. Sanctuary involves a multi-year journey of organisational and cultural change by enabling employees at all levels to create a culture of connection. A culture where people can better relate to each other and safely respond to trauma, crises, stress and conflict. And you'll do probably a full-day training at some stage. So Sanctuary's principles and tools are designed to complement our existing Anglicare SA values, practices and policies, and will help us to have a shared approach and response to trauma. So as part of the Sanctuary model, we do regular check-ins with our team to make sure everyone is travelling okay and to be able to help them out if not. I thought we could start today with a Sanctuary check-in, if that's okay with you. All it consists of is 3 questions, and here is the Sanctuary wheel to give you some ideas of how you might be feeling. So, okay, Lisa, so how are you feeling today?
I'm okay, probably just a little bit nervous, to be honest.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Feeling nervous is completely normal, especially when something is new. I want to reassure you straight away that this mentoring isn't about assessing you or pointing out mistakes. It's about learning together and supporting you to feel more confident in your role. So, what are you hoping to achieve today?
Probably just today generally is just getting some particular deadlines finished.
Sure, excellent. And who's going to be able to help you with that?
Probably you and maybe Brenton. Yeah.
Sure. Excellent. And now it's your turn to ask me.
So, Alex, how are you feeling today?
Well, Lisa, I'm actually feeling excited. I'm looking forward to walking alongside you in your journey with this mentoring.
Cool. What are you hoping to achieve then?
Today I'm hoping to finalise some accreditation documentation.
Okay. And is there anyone you might be able to reach out to help you with that?
Yep, I think Brenton can help me with that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Excellent. So, just revisiting your earlier comment, can you tell me a little bit more about what's been making you feel unsure at work recently?
Well, it's probably mostly about behaviours, I guess. I worry that I might not always respond in the best way, and then I completely distress about it, particularly in terms of writing it up.
Okay. And Lisa, that's really common. and you're definitely not alone in feeling that way. Behaviour support and documentation are two areas where people often doubt themselves, even when they're doing a good job.
Mm.
I really appreciate your honesty. It helps me realise that you actually care about doing things properly.
Mm.
So, I want to spend a bit of time explaining what mentoring actually is, because sometimes it gets confused with supervision or performance management. So, supervision, Lisa, is about checking compliance and performance, whereas mentoring is different. It's about growth, reflection, and learning. In mentoring, it's okay to say, I don't know what to do, or I could have handled that better. That's where learning actually happens.
That's good to know. That makes me feel a bit better.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love the pelican on your drink bottle.
Yeah, thank you. My favourite.
Excellent. So I'm glad. The other thing is this is a safe space. Anything we discuss here stays confidential unless there's a safety or duty of care issue, of course. So my role is to guide, coach, and share the experience with you, not to judge. So how do you usually learn best, Lisa? By talking things through, watching others, or doing hands-on practice?
Probably, I'm a very visual processor, so watching people do things, and then having a bit of hands on with it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's really helpful to know. And we'll make sure the mentoring suits your learning style. But first off, let's just watch this video together about the power of mentoring. If I can get my mouse in the right place.
Have you ever worked really hard for something that you wanted really bad? And once you had it, you weren't sure how you were going to be able to maintain that? There was a time in my life when I was in college, and all of the hard work I had put into enrolling in the school of my dreams almost came to an end. A pivotal moment changed my future and the path that I was on. As a first generation college student, fresh off the farm at a private university, I learned quickly that high school had not prepared me for the academic career of college. I struggled in my first year, taking classes toward a career in the sciences that I had convinced myself I was ready for. After failing chemistry my first semester that first year of college, I was a little dejected, but I had an epiphany. If I took that same class the second semester, why wouldn't I pass it? Well, was I wrong? When I failed chemistry that second semester, it was very clear to me that my future did not lie in the sciences. So to begin my second year of college on academic probation meant venturing into a new path. This time I figured business would be the route to take. Optimistic that my new major would lead to success, I enrolled in economics courses. 2 classes and 2 semesters later, I found myself in that same place, failing my classes and coming to a crossroad. Do I stay for another semester without financial aid and try and get my grades up, or do I transfer to the community college and finish my degree just to be done with school? Have you ever reflected on the successes in your life and wondered who may have been there to help you along the way? Sometimes I think we feel we reach our victories alone, but if we think really hard, we probably find that there was someone there pushing us along the way. Mentoring is so important because of the impact it can have on an individual's life, but also your own. In fact, studies out of Johns Hopkins suggest that when adults mentor young people, there's an effect on the ability to prevent and delay declining brain function. There's something about mentoring that just makes you feel good. Now, you can be an intentional mentor, meaning that you seek out opportunities to help others grow, or perhaps you fall into the unintentional mentoring category, being a mentor and not even knowing it. I've had many mentors in my life, both professionally and personally, mostly intentional, others not. But think about that. Have you ever mentored someone and not even realized it? Maybe you were advising or leading by example, and you never saw the results of mentoring. I've learned along the years that our actions and our behaviors give us mentoring qualities, but you don't have to be old to mentor. Young people can mentor too. Some of my favorite moments have been when I've been able to connect with students that have impacted my life and realize that something in our passing helped them grow and succeed. I love reconnecting with those students after the years have gone by and learning that our relationship impacted their future. Now, I don't want you to confuse mentoring with being a role model. Role models can also lead by example. But as we've seen in the media, role models can go to bad. Mentors have the ability to lead in just about every situation. So when I came to that crossroad in college, when I had to choose between staying and going, it was my work study supervisor, Darlene, and her husband, Rich, who mentored me. They helped me see what I couldn't see myself. I clearly remember that night at their dining room talking about my options. They gave me the tools to make the right decision. All along, I had possessed these tools. I just didn't know how to use them. I'm not sure if they realized how much the mentoring changed my life, but it's given me many opportunities to give back and help others utilize their tools on their journey to success. I came back junior year with a new focus. I found my passion in serving others and a curiosity for learning of other people and other cultures. I majored in sociology and I had a way better GPA when I graduated from college. My true passion. I continue on to get my master's in educational leadership and look forward to pursuing my doctorate very soon. One day of mentoring can change one life forever. Be that mentor.
So,
You can see how she was starting to get
she
emotional.
was getting emotional, wasn't
Yeah,
she?
yeah.
That was beautiful. But as you can see in this short TED talk, Laurie reflects on the transformative impact mentoring has had on her life, and that she said was just one night.
Which is incredible because I don't think they offer it enough.
Absolutely. So she emphasises that mentoring isn't just about technical advice, it's about recognising potential and helping people see their own strengths. Laurie discusses how people often already possess the skills or strengths they need, but they don't realise it. Mentoring can help individuals recognise and use those abilities with intention. She explains that intentional mentors actively guide and support someone's growth on purpose, whereas unintentional mentors influence others simply by being an example or providing encouragement even without realising it. A mentor does more than inspire. They actively help someone develop skills, challenge thoughtfully, and provide trusted guidance. A role model may inspire but doesn't necessarily facilitate growth. The core message is that mentoring enables individuals to recognise their own worth and capability, not just to receive answers or solutions. Through mentoring, people often achieve more than they initially believed possible. And hopefully that's where you'll be in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, well, I think, you just don't realise yourself what you have at times until someone else points it out to you. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's talk a bit about your role in supported independent living. When you think about your day-to-day work, what parts of the job do you enjoy the most, Lisa?
Oh, look, I think, I really enjoy working directly with our customers. I like building relationships with them and getting to know what works and what doesn't work for each person. When someone who usually struggles has a really good day, that really feels rewarding when you're supporting them to achieve those goals.
Sure. And that's a really important insight. So can you tell me more about what you mean by someone having a really good day? What does that look like for you, Lisa?
Look, I think that's when the customer feels calm and heard. Maybe there's less upset and agitation, or they're able to communicate their needs much better or more effectively. Sometimes it's just the small things, that like them agreeing to shower, engaging in an activity, particularly where they don't feel that they can or they normally refuse and things like that. So, yeah.
Excellent. And those small things are actually huge things within the supported independent living. They're often signs that the support strategies are working. What do you think you do that contributes to these moments?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty patient. I don't rush people. I don't want to rush people because I think, we're all different like that. So we can't just expect someone's going to respond the same way that we want them to. So I try to stay calm even when things start to escalate. Because I think getting upset when someone's escalating is really not going to help. So I also try to listen instead of straight away correcting behaviour. So yeah.
Excellent. So, and that's a real strength, Lisa. Patience and calm communication are core skills in positive behaviour support. You're already practicing these positive behaviour support principles, even if you don't always label them that way.
I didn't really think of it like that. I always feel like I'm still learning and not doing enough, I suppose.
Okay. So most good support workers feel that way because they care, which means you care. So one thing I've learned over the years is that effective support isn't about fixing behaviour. It's about understanding what's underneath it, why the behaviour's occurring. And the fact that you enjoy relationship building tells me you're naturally aligned with that approach.
That makes me feel more confident, actually. I just worry that when behaviours escalate, I might miss something or I might respond in the wrong way. You don't want to upset someone through the way you react.
Absolutely, and that's a very honest concern. And it's something many workers do experience. Let me ask you this, Lisa. When things do escalate, what part do you find the most challenging in that situation?
Oh, to be honest, it's probably everything happening at once. Supporting the customer, keeping everyone safe, and then knowing I still have to document it all properly afterwards.
Okay, sure. And that pressure is very real in supported independent living. So, back many, many moons ago when I was doing frontline shifts, I remember thinking, I've handled this okay. Now I just hope I can write it up correctly and remember exactly what happened. And, all these fears started coming in. So that's why documentation becomes such a key skill, especially when linked to behaviour support.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want my notes to sound negative or like I've done something wrong, so just want them to be objective and, clear about what actually happened. Particularly when you want to reflect on them and then go, okay, well, I learnt that then, and or the next support worker can see and based on that experience, inform their own way forward. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And being objective as opposed to subjective, as you said, is perfect. So, and that's where your strengths come in again, because you are relationship focused. You're more likely to write balanced, respectful notes, but we just need to make sure that they're objective and clear, as we just said. And that's something we can absolutely build your confidence in.
Yeah, that would really help. Sometimes I overthink what to write.
I'm sure we all do.
Yeah. And I'm a big one for that.
Absolutely. Look, I'm sure we all do. Anyway, we will work through all of that together. But before we move on, I want to reflect something back to you. You enjoy relationship building. You're patient and you care about doing the right thing. Those qualities all combined are not teachable, Lisa. Okay, you have those great qualities. Skills like documentation are teachable. So our mentoring sessions will focus on strengthening those technical skills so they match the quality of support you're already providing.
Cool. That makes me feel a lot better, particularly about where I'm at with it all. Yeah.
Okay, great. Because mentoring isn't about pointing out what's wrong. It's about building on what's already working and giving you the tools to feel confident in every part of your role. So you can walk away and go, that was a great day. I really feel like I rocked that day. So you've talked about what you enjoy, which gives us a really strong foundation. Now I'd like to explore the other side a bit, the dark side. What parts of your role in supported independent living do you find the most challenging or the most difficult?
Oh, look, I think, it's when behaviours escalate, particularly when you don't expect it. You might come on shift and everything seems fine, and then suddenly a customer becomes distressed or aggressive, and you're trying to manage it safely without anything escalating too much and people getting unsafe or becoming unsafe.
Absolutely. And I would think protecting the other customers in the same time. Yeah. So that unpredictability is one of the hardest parts of supported independent living work. When those situations happen, what's usually going through your mind in the moment? What are you thinking?
I think just thinking about keeping the customer safe, making sure other customers aren't affected, and then following, trying to think about what the behaviour support plan has set out, and following that as per, what they've noted. At the same time, I guess you're worried about whether you are actually responding the right way. Because I think in the moment it all still feels like guesswork. Yeah.
Yep. Sure, and that's a lot to hold on to at once. But it shows that you're thinking about duty of care, not just reacting. So after the situation settles, what do you find the most difficult? So after the escalation and everything's calmed down, what do you find the most difficult then?
I think post the events, because you feel really drained at that point, it's definitely the documentation in terms of, making sure it's accurate. It's really important to write everything down, I suppose, really objectively, but just where you're at in that moment, just trying to focus on what needs to be written in and what doesn't need to be written in.
Yep, sure. And that's another really honest and great response, Lisa, and it's one I've heard many times before. When I was working frontline shifts, back in those days, I found that documentation after an incident could feel heavier than the incident itself, like really weighed you down, especially late in the shift or when staffing was tight and you were having to do everything and then come to documentation when you're exhausted.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it feels like there's too much pressure to hurry up and finish, and so you don't know what the quality is going to be like, particularly when you have to think something through.
And sometimes you feel like you're just writing for the sake of writing because you have to do the report. Absolutely. And that's where mistakes or self-doubt can creep in. So one strategy I used and still recommend is separating documentation into 2 steps wherever possible. So step 1, just jot down brief factual notes as soon as it's safe, even just keywords to remind you of what's happening. And then step 2, you can complete the full progress notes once you've had a moment to breathe and reflect and relax.
Yeah, I hadn't actually thought about that because I don't usually do that. You know, I try to sort of just remember everything and just chuck it in and
Alert.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So if you think about it, when you're having an emergency situation and having to do cardiopulmonary resuscitation, in a hospital situation, you'll have a scribe with you that is taking down the documents. So if you notice when you call an ambulance, you'll often see that ambulance officers writing observations and things on their gloves. That's exactly what they're doing. Step one of this.
Yeah, okay.
So they're jotting down brief factual notes. They're obviously not going to stop compressions or
No.
to write down notes, but whenever it's safe, you can make quick notes, even on something like a rubber glove. So most people just try and do exactly what you said, but memory isn't reliable under stress.
Yeah.
Okay, so writing down dot points like refused medication, raised voice, redirected to room, settled in 10, things like that are leading you to write the notes objectively and exactly as they happened.
Yeah, that would probably make me feel more confident when writing a full note.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it gives you a factual anchor to work from later.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do a quick reflection exercise together. This isn't about right or wrong, just awareness. So think about a recent shift where behaviour support was challenging.
Okay, I've got something in mind.
Great. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. So take your time answering and just be as honest as you are. So with this incident, what was happening just before the behaviour escalated?
There was a change in routine. I suppose dinner was a bit later than usual, and the customer was already restless as a result of that.
That's an important trigger to notice. So, well picked up. What strategies did you use in the moment?
Probably spoke calmly, gave them some space, and just, reminded them of the choices instead of, giving instructions, I suppose. Yeah.
Excellent. That aligns really well with the positive behaviour support principles, Lisa. Now, reflecting back, what do you think worked well?
I think staying calm really helped. I think, you don't want to escalate. So when you stay calm, I think the customer will, read that, and so the situation doesn't escalate as much as, it can.
Absolutely, I agree. And I can certainly see trends from where I'm sitting today, and I'll look at the behaviours and then I question who's actually the staff members on at that time and whether they have fully developed their
because you can see how some staff haven't helped
absolutely
in those escalations.
Absolutely, yes. So what can you do to prevent this from reoccurring?
Maybe documenting the trigger more clearly, like so that it's noted that everyone in the team can see, that that's a trigger and respond appropriately. So I think in this instance, the team will know that a routine change can be a big factor in this, like a trigger. So, yeah, just clearly noting that trigger.
Absolutely. That insight is gold, Lisa. That's exactly how behaviour support plans improve, through clear, objective documentation from staff members like you. So one thing I want you to remember is this. Feeling unsure doesn't mean you're doing a poor job. It usually means you're reflective and conscientious, which are essential qualities in disability support.
Yeah, that's reassuring to hear. Yeah.
So, our mentoring sessions, Lisa, will help you move from, am I doing this right? I know, to, I know why I did this, and I can explain it clearly in my notes. So, you're sort of moving to, I've actually got this. And that confidence comes with practice, reflection, and support, not overnight perfection.
I wish, but I like that way of looking at it though, because you want everything done right from word go. But yeah,
We don't live in the perfect world,
no.
unfortunately. So, based on what you've shared, I'd like to suggest 3 main focus areas for our mentoring. I'll talk through them and tell me what you think. Firstly, understanding positive behaviour support. Not just what the strategies are, but why they work. Secondly, documentation. So learning how to write objective professional behaviour notes that protect you, the customer, and the organisation. Okay? And then the third will be reflective practice. Learning how to look back on a situation, identify what worked, and build confidence over time.
Yeah, that sounds about right. What I need to work on. Yeah, what I want to. Yeah.
Perfect. That tells me we're both on the same page, which is always good. So just to be clear about boundaries, we'll always protect customer privacy and confidentiality. There's no need to use names or identifying details when we talk through examples. It's all in the name of respect. We'll also make sure mentoring happens in a safe environment where work health and safety issues are considered. For example, choosing a quiet space and not being interrupted by active support. And then I also ask that you come to sessions open and willing to reflect. And I can see that's not going to be a problem for you, Lisa. And I commit to providing respectful, honest feedback.
Yeah, sounds fair.
Excellent. So to finish today, I'd like to give you a small reflection task for next week. I'd like you to observe a senior staff member supporting a customer using PBS strategies. You don't need to change how you work yet. Just watch, notice what they do, how they speak, and how the customer responds. Okay? Write down anything that stands out, even questions or things you're unsure about.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, great. Well, you've done awesomely well today, Lisa. I really appreciate how open you've been. And we can talk through your observation next session. In the meantime, if you need me, just reach out during the week. But thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Excellent.